right, Lauren, it's official. Vince McMahon, the former CEO of WWE, released a statement addressing the controversy surrounding his return to the company. In a statement, Vince McMahon explained that he had attempted to return to the WWE in order to help the company through a difficult time and ensure that it remained competitive. He has also said that he has not intended to take an active role in the day-to-day operations of the company. Lauren, in your opinion, do you think Vince McMahon is telling the truth about his return back to WWE? If you have questions, okay, ask questions, because I understand you probably aren't as informed in this story.
So I kind of know like what's going on with it. But
I'll kind of break it down for you. So around December 20th, he petitioned the board of directors to return back to the company under the idea that he was going to return to negotiate the media rights for their next big media deal.
Yeah.
And to start to look for a sell of the company. So he's basically announcing the bigger story here that nobody's talking about is he's essentially saying he's ready to sell the WWE.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. To who?
But this is the problem. And this is before we get into the question is, do you believe that? So does that not seem like the perfect ruse to use to bring yourself? To me, it looks like Vince McMahon's taking a step progression here. He knows if I just get my foot back inside the door,
then I'm okay.
Then I can start to work myself back into it's the take an inch to gain a mile.
Yeah.
If he gets his foot in the door and he starts negotiating TV deals, he can talk like he's working out a sell of the company. But is that not? I mean, do you believe that he's not just inching himself closer to getting back into the day-to-day operations?
100%. I definitely think that that's what he's doing. And I honestly think that like maybe he stepped back and he was like, let's see how this goes. And the fact that he wants to negotiate the TV rights, isn't he the one who negotiated all of them in the first place, like the first time around?
So it's coming back up. It's not like he needs to fix them or anything. It's
but like he's the one who did it the first time.
Yeah, and he's probably the most well equipped, and the stocks have all risen based on his. I mean, he's back. Like as of today. No, I mean it's official. They filed with the SEC
FCC or whatever.
Yeah, SEC, and they removed 3 people from the board of directors, and Vince McMahon is officially back to being a part of the WWE. They removed 3 board of directors. Somebody, I think, quit in protest.
Yeah.
They had a huge meeting this morning, I believe, where they sat down everybody that is like essential personnel in the company and had a long discussion about Vince is returning. He's not going to touch day-to-day. Stephanie and Nick Khan are going to remain the CEOs for the time being. Triple H is going to remain as head of creative. But there was this weird like sentence at the end that said, for the time being.
Yeah.
That's interesting that they didn't, it wasn't a definitive statement of like, this is how it's going to be. The statement was for the time being. I do believe I 100% Vince McMahon is going to work on professional wrestling until the day he dies.
So like, do you care if he comes back? Like, does it bother you?
I don't know. I'm not sold on the idea that Triple H just completely changed the industry in the same way that other people believe that he just booked WWE into this wonderful world. I think that Triple H's relationships with wrestlers was far superior to Vince McMahon's. I think Vince McMahon kind of ruled with a fear, and that Triple H ruled with an open arm. That's just me looking at the situation.
You say that, right? Like, in my opinion, I don't care that he's back. I didn't really bother. I mean, like, and I might get hate for it because like I'm a woman or whatever, but like, I didn't care that he left. Like, I mean, I care that he left, but like all the shit that went down, it happened.
Yeah, you know? I don't know that you know all the details. I don't know everything. So that's the problem. But
like, I can separate the man from the business. I thought he did good stuff.
But he used company money. That's what you're not. Well, you're not acknowledging. What you're trying to reference is the fact that he cheated on his wife multiple times and he paid people off to hide it, and that while that's a bad thing, as long as it's not illegal, you don't have a huge problem with it. Understand that. But I think the bigger problem is the means of which, like, borrowing money from the company, using hush money.
That's right.
I think that is doing it within people in the company. Then you have to think about, like, the power dynamics. While maybe it's not illegal to do some of the things he did, but his stature in being CEO of WWE alludes a certain amount of pressure to women to acquiesce to his whims within that company. So, like, it's much more, I think, it's deeper than just surface level of going, like, I understand what you're saying. Like, it doesn't bother you that much. And I don't even really want to dive into that side of it as much as, like, Vince McMahon coming back. Does that bother me? No, because I believe that Vince McMahon sat out long enough. It was about 6 months that he was able to see the positive kind of uplift of his company when he was gone. And I think that Vince McMahon is smart enough to understand probably that, like, there are certain things that had to change. And I don't think he's going to step back in and try to resume control of creative. Mm-hmm. But when his foot's in the door, I believe that he has a say so. And like, when he's able to walk now down to Triple H's office and go, why don't we do this? Mm-hmm. There's going to be more pressure put on.
Well, it almost reminds me too, like you said it, like Triple H had a better relationship and he ruled more like with an iron fist. I think sometimes you need a little bit of both in order to make the company great. Oh, you do. Trust me. I brought that up about a week ago. I said that it's like mommy and daddy. You need them both.
It was when the guy from Hit Row, Top Dollar, did the dive over the top of the rope.
Yes,
and
I remember you talking about that.
And then I talked about Ricochet coming out and swinging the chair and actually catching someone in the Gunther in the head and cutting him open.
That would have been a big deal.
I think that you have to have somebody who's just not like, it's okay. Or like in the John Cena return match here this last week, the audio group in the back left the microphones hot in the ring, and you can hear the referee say, "Don't move, Roman. Hot tag coming." She's calling the spots out.
That's
and that
crazy.
100% breaks kayfabe. And I think that I'm just under the belief that Triple H is probably a little more understanding. I think that Vince McMahon's the guy who goes back there and goes,
fired.
That doesn't happen. The reason we are the best, I don't think he fires them, but I think the reason we are the best company in the world is because
we don't do that shit.
We don't allow those kind of mistakes to happen. And so I do think, like you said, people tend to get relaxed with a regimen change. And I do think that there's this argument and this thing, well, everybody's happier now that Vince McMahon's gone. Yeah. I mean, when the rules loosen, everybody gets happier. That doesn't mean it's best for the company.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I think that what is ultimately best for WWE is if this all plays out the way it is, where Vince McMahon comes and takes a business role within the company and Triple H assumes the creative and the talent relations side. I think there's a harmony that could be had where people still fear Vince McMahon and they fear the wrath of Vince, but they're able to kind of confide into Triple H as long as Vince allows Triple H to really have that authority. Yeah. If he comes in and immediately overshadows him, it'll get messy and it'll probably end up being worse than what it was before.
I have another random question that popped in my head.
For it.
Okay, so if like Vince McMahon, we'll call him Daddy Vince, right?
Okay.
He's kind of the one that says like, you can't do that. These are the rules and you have to follow them. After he steps away, who is the next person to fulfill that role? If we find that him and Triple H are like a magical match together. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's so.
Would it be Stephanie?
I think she already is. I think Stephanie already is that person. Mm-hmm. I think that the problem is Vince stepping back in. He's really not supposed to probably have any association with any of the wrestlers. I'm just alluding to the fact that, do we believe Vince McMahon, once his foot is back in the door, is not at least mentoring and trying to talk to people? Like,
yes.
That's the thing. I think the question you ask is like, what happens when Vince is gone? Here's the reality. If we take this at face value, Vince is gone anyway, because he's negotiating a sell of the company.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to take this, because I'm not taking it at face value, but if you want to take this at face value, what are people upset about? He's coming in to sell the company. That doesn't mean he wants to return. It means he believes the company that he owns, he is the most fit to negotiate that sell. I don't have a problem with that, if that's really what's happening. And like, I know like Disney's probably in play. Peacock, NBC Universal's probably in play. I'm going to guess Fox has an eyeball on this. They're a definite company. The bigger question I think that you have to ask, though, is what does this mean for the next 5 years of WWE? Like, what are we going to see? Just a complete restructuring of the company? Because I imagine when they get in, whoever buys the company gets in and digs through the pieces. There's a lot of dysfunction, I'm imagining, in a company that's been run by a family since its inception. Like, there's just certain things that get done a certain way because it makes family members more comfortable rather than, oh, this is the right way we do this.
Yeah.
So what happens when let's say NBC Universal comes in and starts combing through these entities and starts making decisions based on business? I think that's always a problem. It's always a problem, right? Because say what you want about Vince, Triple H, Stephanie, they have the business in their blood. So the decisions they make aren't always necessarily made on business. They're made on somewhat of a feeling. And I think that having someone from like NBC Universal come in and start just looking at pure numbers, it can't, like, I do think that's extremely interesting of what could happen. But how do you think, so another question, how do you think the wrestlers, when they wake up this morning and they hear that like, because I know yesterday the big thing on Twitter was that everybody was saying, well, it won't happen till May because he'll have to get this approved. And
yeah,
we wake up this morning and it's an immediate thing filed with the SEC. Vince McMahon is back in charge and inside the WWE company structure. Like, so if you're some of these, like, imagine like Karrion Kross.
Oh, who the guys who like got fired and kind of like were going to get buried by him, right?
Gunther, right?
Yeah.
Like the rumor was before Vince left, like Gunther was going to be a straight up comedy act and possibly, you know.
So I guess it depends on the wrestler, right? Like, I mean, because I would assume
question.
that those guys would be like, oh, fuck, like what's going to happen?
Yeah,
I'd have a sense of uncertainty. But I don't know what the general consensus is, right? Like, did people not like him? Because I mean, I don't know.
So from what I've heard, I don't think anybody didn't like him. Because I saw
Sasha was like, "Thank you, Vince."
That was all publicity.
Oh, just so like,
that was all publicity. We can talk about it right now. I don't care. Or I think that was kind of part of topic 2 here.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about topic 2, but definitely. No, I just, it's interesting. I don't know.
I honestly don't know.
I think it's an overreaction. I think everybody in the fucking world of media is going to overreact to this. Everybody is going to go, oh no, Vince is back. Nothing's going to change.
No.
The course that we're on is the course that we're on. In fact, if you want to be real.
If you proved yourself, then you should have nothing to worry about.
What are you talking about?
Like so Gunther, whatever. The fact that Vince was going to bury him and then he came out and he was like, look what the fuck I can do.
Yeah, I'm not worried about. But he had already proved himself. I think the argument is that Vince just gets this weird taste in his mouth for certain people. What I'm not referring to is not the wrestlers. I don't. You know what? If they're fucking worried, like you said, they probably weren't performing already anyway. I'm more talking about like people overreacting in the media, going like, "Oh my God, Vince is back."
Fucking everybody's gonna blow shit up.
The booking is nothing's gonna change. We're staying. It may get better because Vince McMahon still has relationships with The Rock, with Stone Cold, with Brock Lesnar, and some of those relationships that might have even been a little bit strained when he left.
Yeah.
Now that he's back in the company, Brock Lesnar may have this like even deeper level of comfort going, oh, cool. Yeah, no, I'm back. And The Rock may go, all right, cool. My relationship with Vince, I'm back.
Yeah.
So I think in the end run, it will probably benefit WWE. I think once everybody's done overreacting and pretending like he's going to come in and grab a stranglehold over creative, like for sure, he's not going to fuck with anything, I think, through WrestleMania 39. Where you start to worry is, this is the problem. Where you start to worry is if he makes it to WrestleMania 39 and the world has kind of just forgot about what he's done, then he can take one more step forward and go, well, I'm going to re-implement myself as CEO of the company. And then from that step, he can go, well, I'm going to take over a portion of the creative control, and so you can see him step in.
And people do forget things. I mean, it just
100%.
takes
That's just the way the world works.
The next big thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's why he was able to make it here, right?
Yeah.
Is because
he shut up and he stayed out of the limelight long enough.
There was this public outcry that like Vince is done forever. And here we are 6 weeks or 6 months removed with people just kind of laying back off of what happened. And Vince kind of went like, hey, fuck you guys. I should have just jumped right back in immediately. We'll see. It'll be interesting.